But they're willing to sell you out, to sell out the masses for minuscule crumbs. Like I said, Armageddon to get a friendly NLRB. Explain that to me. Explain that logic to me. It makes no sense. But it's the same thing. Okay, let's name another thing the professional managerial class sells us out on. Israel. So is it worth selling out our brothers and sisters who are being oppressed, killed, and murdered every single day, and abused, police brutality every single day? It's worth to sell them out to get elected to the Democratic Imperialist Party. That's what we're saying. You see this deal making that the professional managerial class is always willing to do, but the deal making never, ever, ever involves them. It's always selling somebody else out. Why don't you make the personal sacrifice? Let's listen some more to this interview.
So for me, if I just look at that one thing, it says, okay, you've got to engage in electoralism and you have to, do the best that you can with the options that we have, even while recognizing how woefully inadequate it ultimately is.
This is the lane that I described Marianne Williamson is in, that David Sirota is in, that Robert Reich is in. I think that's how you say his name. And Cenk Uygur. We're going to critique the Democratic Party while at the same time supporting them. We're going to critique them harshly while at the same time supporting them. You tell me this. What's the value of your words that you're telling me that the Democratic Party is terrible if you're just going to go around and vote for them? Let me give you an analogy. What's the value of me telling you I'm a vegetarian or a vegan, whichever one? What's the value of me telling you that if 2 minutes later you see me at McDonald's with 3 Big Macs stuffed down my throat? What's the value in me telling you that I'm a vegetarian? Doesn't that lose value? This is the point. We don't have to engage with shit. Because you know what's not electoralism? You know what's still electoralism, but not red, blue? Voting green. Voting any other third party. Voting socialists. But supporting any red, blue, especially nationally, or I should say exclusively national, federal. What is the purpose here? Trump or Biden? Because so far, I think without a doubt, we can clearly say that Trump is a racist piece of shit and Joe Biden is a racist piece of shit. But the presidency, Biden's presidency has clearly been awful, way worse than the Trump presidency. We can clearly, unbiasedly see that. With the COVID deaths, with inflation, with the proxy war, with so many things. Saying that doesn't say, oh, I think Donald Trump should be elected. It's saying, stop acting like the Democrats is a better choice. They're not. So let's continue the video. Sorry for getting a little animated here. Didn't expect to get this animated this early.
Zach and I live in Kansas City, Missouri now, but we both grew up in Kansas on the other side of the border. And,
online learning isn't what it used to be. And that's a very good thing for students who can.
So Afeni has now volunteered to pay for my YouTube and Rome. So I got 2 people. I just got to get around to it. Sorry, everybody. I'll promise I'll get around to it. But let's see this ad here. Let's listen.
To ask you to make a donation to my campaign for re-election. But first, let me explain why I need your support.
Why do people who are being funded by billion-dollar companies, why do they need working class money? For what? But let's continue the interview. Cristobal on the Vanguard.
Here in Missouri on legalizing cannabis at a recreational level. It's already legal at a medicinal level in Missouri, but that's luckily going to be a ballot initiative that I think will pass pretty easily here in Missouri. However, in Kansas, they don't even have the ability to get a ballot measure on the ballot.
Wow.
It's not a thing. The only reason they were able to get the abortion one on there was because it was like an amendment to the state constitution that was being proposed. But they really don't even have the option in any way, shape, or form to get voting on something like legal cannabis on the ballot as a ballot initiative, which is insanely anti-democratic. And the reason, and they won't even vote on it in the state legislature because it's completely controlled by Republicans. They won't even let it through, despite the best attempts of activists and lobbyists alike. Even the corporate lobbyists can't get the Republican majority legislature in Kansas to do anything about this. They won't even bring it to a vote. So again, that's another issue where I'm like, yeah, I agree that to some extent, elections and politicians, it's kind of like.
So remember, let's think back to what I said earlier. Remember, they began to say, we're afraid that leftists are going to exit electoral politics altogether because it's very much valuable to do local politics, and they gave all these reasons. Let's see how long we stay on the national politics. Because so far, if you're clocking the time, we've been on national politics a lot longer. Like I said earlier, it felt like the banner reads, there's other reasons to stay in electoralism. Because staying electoral means voting at all. This is not about that. This is specifically about voting Democratic. Both of them are bringing up examples where you're having to pick the Democrats. Are you not hearing them? They're not saying Democrat, but she said Joe Biden's NLRB. Isn't Joe Biden a Democrat? And now they're saying Republicans won't bring up a bill, but Democrats will. Isn't that what they're saying? What's happening here?
Like a bourgeois concern or whatever, but it also does manifest in very serious ways where it's like, I'm not a rah-rah Democrat, like go vote blue.
Why do a Democrat need to be in a Republican if we're putting on the right amount of pressure? The professional managerial class just wants the easy way, and they think this is an easy way out. Civil rights movement. Did they go? Of course, they would want somebody friendly to civil rights, but did they go, let's go elect a bunch of people who's ever there, we're pressuring them? What happened to that? That takes organization. That takes work. Whoever is in the seat, who signed the civil rights bill? Who signed it? Was it because did Martin Luther King elect them? did Martin Luther King say, hey, let's elect Lyndon Johnson to the office so we can get civil rights? Is that the strategy they went with? Let's get civil rights by electing Lyndon Johnson, and then we're gonna have him sign the legislation. Or they just put pressure on everybody, regardless who's in the seat.